This video is way overdue, and I recognize that, and I apologize. Shortly after I created part 2 of my Leaving the Rat Race series early last year, I had every intention to follow up with a part 3. And I even wrote a script and everything was ready to go. And then life decided to throw me curveballs and gave me bags of lemons, and it was not fun. But I'm not gonna talk about it again because recently I made a life update video of sorts and kind of talk about it. So we're gonna leave it at that. Just know that sometimes you can try to plan your life as much as you want and it doesn't go the way that you had expected. And I guess that's life. What do you do, right? So we're moving on. We're gonna continue and we're gonna do this finally, part 3 of Leaving the Rat Race series. So in this video, I want to talk about the simple formula that I derived from my personal journey experience of achieving financial freedom. This is by no means a scientific formula. It's just me trying to look at all the things that happened right for me to achieve financial freedom so that hopefully it can make sense for more people, and hopefully they can use it to apply whatever they get out of it to help them with their journey to financial freedom if that's what they choose. Now, a couple of disclaimers before we begin. One is that if it's not obvious enough, I am not a personal financial advisor, professional of anything kind. I'm just some random guy on the internet sharing my personal journey and experience with other people so that other people can learn from this and help them on their journey. And 2, I mentioned this formula is very simple. That doesn't mean that it's easy. Easy and simple sometimes get interchangeably used, but simple is actually hard to achieve. And especially with this simple freedom formula, achieving financial freedom is anything but simple. It took a lot of hard work, it took a lot of time, it took some luck, it took a lot of hustle and patience and hard work, and okay, I'm out of words. You get the drill. So it's not easy. There is no such thing as getting rich quick, unless you consider winning the lottery, which I'm not going to talk about that because that's way out of her control, and chances are this is something that you can achieve. Financial freedom is achievable, and it just requires a lot of intention and hard work, and you'll see. So without further ado, the freedom formula that I came up with from my personal journey is freedom equals savings plus time plus a little bit of luck. We're gonna drill down into individual pieces one by one. So first we're gonna start with savings. The way I look at savings is that it's income minus expenses. Now, based on my personal journey, what really went right is that I worked really hard to increase my income through, getting education and climbing that corporate ladder and just making more money. Although that's not the only piece here, because expense is also the other piece that a lot of people forget about. This is why you have all these stories about people in industries where they make a lot of money, like doctors, lawyers, that they cannot save a lot of money because their lifestyle is inflating as they make more money. And it's certainly very easy to inflate your lifestyle as you make more money. It's normal to feel like the more money you make, the more things you can buy in life. The bigger house you can afford, the nicer car you can get, the more frequent upgrades of your cell phones, computer, and whatever people upgrades these days. And that's why a lot of times people only think about increasing their income as they want more things. But the superpower here is if you can work hard to increase your income, but at the same time being intentional with your expenses and spending and keeping it as low as possible and not have as many wants as the guy next door, then what you can do is maximize the amount of savings that you can have. But savings alone is not enough to bring you to financial freedom, because if you have your savings in just like a savings account or bank account, inflation would eat away its ability to buy, and which is known as purchasing power. So the real value of your money is actually decreasing. But this is where the second variable comes into play, which is time. For the sake of example, I'm just gonna use the S&P 500 as an example for investment. It essentially is a broad market index that tracks like 500 of the most successful companies, and it's like a low fee index fund. You're essentially not picking stocks individually because we don't know which stock is gonna do well, which stock is not gonna do well. So what you do is you buy the market. Essentially what you're saying is that I believe in human progress. I believe that companies are going to find ways to increase value for their shareholders. And historically speaking, this has done exactly that. It's historically returned like 7% per year, and that's historical. I cannot guarantee the future. Nothing is a guarantee, but history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes, is what they say. So this is where time comes into play, where if you have your savings, which you maximize in the first variable, into the market and let time do its thing to compound money, and this is how you build the wealth. And the more savings you have, the more you can put in the market, and the more time you let it do its work, the more the power of compounding would compound your wealth. And this is why nothing happens overnight unless you win the lottery, which is a different thing. This is well within something that you can do, save money and then put it into the stock market. And looking back at my story, one of the things that helped me in this specific variable time is a strategy called dollar cost average. So throughout the time when I was investing, I did dollar cost average, or DCA. Essentially every month I set aside a chunk of money from my paycheck and just put it into a fund. And I just do that like a robot. I don't think, I don't check. When I get the paycheck, I just put it into the fund. And over time, it just did its thing and grew. Now, the final piece of this simple formula is a bit of luck. Now, I recognize that from my story, there are two things that stands out that are definitely elements of luck. One is the buying of my condo in Calgary. That was a foolish decision. Why is that so hard to say? Foolish decision at the time, but turned out to be a good decision in hindsight. And then the other lucky thing that happened was during the time that I was dollar cost averaging, it was a bull market, and it was a really long bull market too. And those two things are seen as luck, but the way that I want you to think about it is that these are opportunities that if you had the capital, you can take advantage of. So without savings, I wouldn't have been able to put down payment on the condo. Without savings, I wouldn't have been able to take advantage of the bull market. And I would just be sitting on the sidelines, and then I don't know where I would be today. So if you think about luck as opportunities, then it makes the first variable even more important. So if you lay out the entire formula, freedom equals savings plus time plus a little bit of luck, you can argue that a lot of it is out of your control. What's in your control is the first variable, savings. And within the savings variable, income and expense. Income, you can work really hard to climb that ladder, upgrade your education, or figure out ways to increase your income. But that's not the biggest control you have, because let's be honest, you can get laid off, you can spend every dime you make. So no matter how much you make, you're just not saving any money. So in a way, yes, it's in your control to make more money, but the most important aspect of this entire formula is your expense. And this is where I really attribute a lot of my financial freedom achievement to simple living, is that I don't inflate my lifestyle unless it's necessary. And I think about how to save money or keep my expenses low, no matter how much money I made. For example, you can choose not to go out for a steakhouse dinner every weekend, or you can choose not to go out to the bar. Or if you go to the bar, you can choose not to drink alcohol and just drink water and still have a great time, right? And these tiny little decisions are what compounds and allows you to keep more of the money that you do make, and then let time compounds your wealth because you can save more. And then when luck comes along, then you can take advantage of it because you have the capital to take advantage of it. And theoretically speaking, if you can minimize your expenses to zero, you're technically financially free. Although this is not a very very realistic scenario by any stretch. I think it's important to not underestimate the ability of minimizing your expenses have throughout your entire financial freedom journey. And I think this is the area where a lot of people kind of overlook, because we're all consumed by just thinking about ways to increase their income, how to make more money, how to make more money, how to make more money. But then it's like, okay, well, how much am I spending? Am I spending way more? Like, that's the superpower. And this is also where, yeah, simple living is a superpower in a way. And the fun fact in this tangent, simple living is also helping you being responsible, because you're saving money, you're buying less things that goes to landfills and requiring less of the resource from the earth and using less this, less that. And it's just good. So that's the freedom formula that I derive from my personal journey. While I cannot guarantee you 100% success, because there's no such thing, what I can tell you is that if you follow this formula in the sense that you're being intentional with your spending, reducing your expenses and reducing your wants or keeping them in check, and working really hard to increase your income so that you can use that savings and put it into the market with the dollar cost average strategy, and let the power of compounding time to do its work, then your trajectory will be way more favorable than those who spend every dime of their paycheck. Because no matter how much money they make and no matter how much luck they get or opportunities in life they get, they would not be able to take advantage of it, right? But you can. So the question is, how much money do you actually need to be considered financially free? Now, this is a loaded question, but the way I look at it is through the FIRE movement, or more specifically, the 4% rule. Long story short, this is essentially the foundation of the FIRE movement, which stands for Financially Independent to Retire Early. And it's based on a study that some really smart people did in the 1990s that suggests you can safely withdraw 4% of your portfolio each and every year without running money for at least a 30-year duration period. Now, a lot has changed since the 1990s, and I'm not going to dive too deep into that. Please do your research. It's so fascinating. And it loosely suggests that you can withdraw 4%, so you can do the reverse math, right? So whatever expenses you think you need, build a portfolio that can sustain a 4%, which equates to that or more. And then depending on your personal risk tolerance or your age, you might decrease that rate. There are a lot of different things within the FIRE community and the FIRE framework to help you think about money and how much you need. And it gets very nuanced, but also interesting in a sense. So I'm actually building an app right now, which is called myfiplanner.com. And it's essentially my spreadsheet turned into a web app. This spreadsheet has helped me stay on track and focused and motivated towards my financial freedom over the years. And I had to make modifications to it after FIRE, because I recognized that the things that matter to me as a post-FIRE person is different than pre-FIRE. Pre-FIRE, I was very focused on savings rate. Post-FIRE, I have zero savings rate because I don't have an income. So things are very different. So I made it customizable so that wherever you are on your FIRE journey, you'll be able to configure it to make your numbers make sense to you. There's a lot more. I have a big vision for the app, but right now it's taking a lot longer than I had hoped. So I look forward to releasing a beta very soon. If you're interested, go to myfiplanner.com and sign up for the waiting list. But it's definitely gonna be a foundation where I build on, because I have so many features that I had to cut out. Building an app is hard. There's just so many pieces, but I'm really excited and really proud of it. So yeah, stay tuned for that. So I think this video wraps up that 3-part series of leaving the rat race. I think what's next for my channel is really just share my personal journey of my unexpected financial freedom. As you are aware, I quit my job without hitting my FIRE number, and then somehow it's still working. So to me, it's an experiment. I'm still learning a lot of things, and I made a lot of mistakes, which I plan on making a video of it, so that you don't make those mistakes. And honestly, like I'm the worst person to fire. Like I fire the wrong way. So yeah, I want to share more of my learnings and all the things that I've done wrong and what I got myself into, and so that hopefully you don't have to make those mistakes. And and also build the tool for you to achieve your financial freedom as well on myfiplanner.com. If there's one thing that I learned, honestly, life is about a balance. It's not about rushing towards your financial freedom. If you have a job that you enjoy doing, that's the most important thing. I think in my story, it's really, I was just saving really aggressively and then sacrificing a lot of the things in life in a way to get to that goal. But then if you think about it, life really is about a balance. This is a totally different video too, but yeah, this is the stuff I want to share. I want to share like what's on my mind. Honestly, this is not all sunshines and butterflies. I just hope that people can use my journey as a learning experience and my tool as a way to help them achieve financial freedom if that's what they choose. At the very least, I think it would help people be more financially responsible. I think that's important. So I'm gonna stop rambling. I think the next video I want to do is doing a recap of 5 years of leaving corporate, what it's like. Yeah, I don't know. Let me know if that's interesting to you. If it is, I'll make that video. If not, I'll probably make it anyways. All right, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.